Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Today I have two articles talking about the same subject, which is Russia's ammunition and artillery and shells and their weapons. And one article says one thing, which is left, and the other article says something else, which is right. Totally opposite. Now, it's true that in one we have a certain kind of people stating certain things, and on the other one we have a different kind of person stating something else. So let's see who's lying, because one of them must be lying or being uninformed. Let's put it nicely. First I will start with the Ukrainska Pravda, with the one that says that the Russian Federation will run out of shells, artillery and armored vehicles by year end. So this article claims that the Russian Federation will run out of shells and artillery. All right, let's see. Russia will face an acute shortage of shells, artillery and armored vehicles by the end of 2022. So that's about what? It's September, October, November. By December they're done, or it will be like in a crisis. The Insider, Russian non-governmental media outlet, said that. The Insider. Now this is this side. The other side, remember I posted a video with this funny looking guy? If you don't, just check it out. He is the German defense chief, a general, and his name is Zorn, or Zorn. So he says that don't underestimate Russia's military strength, and he's going to provide his evidence or his take on how well prepared or how poorly prepared Russia is. So let's go first with the Ukrainian experts here, with the Insider thing. The Insider. Quote, 6 months of war has led not only to colossal, irreparable losses in manpower, but also to a huge waste of weapons and military equipment for Russia. Guided missiles are already very scarce. Shells for artillery and armored vehicles will be exhausted by the end of the year, and the state of military aviation precludes a full-scale campaign. The other person says totally different. Okay, because of the sanctions, they try to prove that the sanctions worked or something. Russia cannot continue full-scale industrial production of weapons and replenish its rapidly depleting stockpiles. I don't know if you are aware, but when you talk about the arms industry, at least that's the way it used to be. When you talk about art, which is obviously it's a strategic industry, you cannot afford your industry depend on outside materials or whatever help too much or at all. So you should be able to substitute whatever you were buying or you were using cheaper from a different source. You are able to do it from the autochthone, from the native production, extraction and production and so on. You should be able to change that strategically, because it makes no sense to buy swords from a different country or arrows from a different country and go and fight that one, and then you find yourself fighting that country and don't have arrows anymore. So you have to have that, unless you're a tard, and I don't think the Russians are tards. Okay, so let's go back to this little thing. According to the analysis by The Insider, during 6 months of aggression against Ukraine, Russia had to use at least 7 million shells, not including the losses of frontline storage sites that resulted from Ukrainian strikes. Makes sense. All right, that's a lot of them. Now, I'm quoting again. If the intensity of the war remains at its current level, Moscow will face a tangible shell shortage by the end of 2022 and will have to reduce its use of artillery in order to save munitions. The article says, sounds very logic, but those million shells that you said, they come out of a stock of how much? That's the whole question. That 7 million shells that they at least used, let's put it to 10 million shells. Comes of what? What's the stockpile? If that comes from, I know, 50 trillion, I'm just making up numbers, that is a zero. It's unimportant amount. So if they would provide us with a knowledge of how much the Russians had before the February 24th, and then you come with this one, you can make a percentage, and then you say, okay, this is the beginning, this is how much was used, but in the same time the Russia is able to produce a little bit. So you can calculate. It's just mathematics, is nothing else. All right? Or arithmetics, however you want to call it in here. So it says here that the author also pointed out the problem of wear and tear of artillery barrels. While the guides of multiple launch rocket systems have a long service life when properly maintained, the barrels of rifled artillery guns as well as tank guns wear out much faster. Those are the ones that are like this, you know, rifled. I think that's how you pronounce it, rifled. As the author of the article writes, by the end of 2022, the wear and tear of the artillery will lead to drastic reduction in its effectiveness. Yeah, but are they building new ones or no? And again, how many did they have? Thus, the expected projectile shortage should coincide with a growing shortage of artillery pieces. Sounds very logical. Again, you start from where? Now, it says the Russian Federation is also facing a growing shortage of long-range missiles. How do you know that? However, Russia is making this deficit by shelling Ukraine cities with long-range rocket artillery and by using S-300/S-400 air defense anti-missile systems to strike ground targets. Alright, it is unlikely that Russian industry has the potential to substantially increase rocket production. That's true, due not only to the embargo on the supply of equipment that, as I said, will be replaced by native industry, otherwise they're tards, and I don't think they are, on the supply of equipment and personal restrictions, but also to relatively low labor productivity. How do you know that? I think everything goes as it used to, at least over there. I don't know how it's over here, but over there, it seems like their industry is not contract, I don't know, or at least not at the level they expected. So the insider also mentions the possible shortage of armored vehicles. Again, where you start from and where you are right now, and they don't have the beginning. That's, you know, the aviation situation, they say, looks better at first glance. Today, after accounting for losses and breakdowns, Russia is still able to keep about 400 combat aircraft of various types and about 360 helicopters near the borders, although not all of them are of the attack type. That's true, that's true. However, it turns out that Russia has not been able to conduct a full-scale air campaign since the start of the war, and now its capacity for such a campaign has only shrunk, the article states. Out of what? 3,000 airplanes? How many they have? I think they said about like 2,000 or something. Out of 2,000, how many were destroyed? These guys said like 300. And then they have over there 400. So they must have about 1,200 extra. Where are those? Oh, they're not functional. And let's see what this little dude is talking about. This little dude here, I think, has more information than the insider author, but who knows? It says that, first it says that Russian aviation is like unscattered as of now. That's one thing that he said. And he says about this, he also suggested that Russia was not about to run out of ammunition anytime soon. He said, the Russians, and I'm quoting, the Russians have enormous quantities of ammunition at their disposal. He said, this ammunition is partly old and very accurate, but it is inaccurate, but this is exactly this that causes great destruction to civilian infrastructure. They fire around 40,000 to 60,000 rounds of artillery ammunition per day. So, I don't know, according to this guy, they will not run out of ammunition anytime soon. It's true, they don't have, as I agreed with, I don't think they had enough time to make enough missiles for S-300s, S-400s, you know, those Iskander, Kalibr, and whatever else they're gonna use over there. So, I don't know. I tend to believe I would say, not expert, but he's military who's has to be briefed by German intelligence, whereas the other one probably is just informed by other pieces of information from other statements made by some other people that are really they have an interest in it. Not that the German doesn't have. I don't know what his interest is exactly right now. I don't know if he's going to be fired after the statements he made. But it's just how today in the morning I posted that video with the funny guy, the Zong or whatever his name is, the general, the guy, you know, the defense minister, the defense chief of German defense, right? And then with the article from the Insider with another guy. I don't know. I don't know if they ran out of that. They should at one point, but I don't know how long the war is going to last. Will it be done by the end of the year? I don't know, because I don't know and neither that the guy know. Where the Russians started at. They started here and they use this much, or they started here and they use this much. I don't know. He doesn't know, or maybe he didn't mention it, so obviously he doesn't know. He just shoots in the dark. Maybe, you know, get something. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.